Hello and welcome to Simblified, the show where we mostly deal with facts, but sometimes throw a little bit of misinformation and humor to keep it interesting.
Is that what we do?
Yeah.
You were like on purpose throwing in the misinformation. So
Why
mine
not?
was all accidental. Just clarify.
So, yes, we are here for yet another episode, and we are unfortunately still Naren-less, so all the Naren fanboys can tune out. And now that we are all talking amongst each other, we can say anything we want.
Also it's monsoon
Pretty
in
much.
Bombay, so it's na rain less, because rainless is when there is
Oh
no
my
rain. Na
God.
rainless means there is actual rain.
That's
Thank
all,
you.
folks. I think this is it. I think we have covered everything.
No, the thing
we
is,
needed
every
to.
monsoon I keep making this and you guys are freshly surprised.
It's all
Oh my
suppressed.
God.
Years of like
It's
blocking
like-
it out and like
Viral fever and this joke from Chuck. This is hard for Bombay Buses.
excellent. But okay, so if anybody is remaining, for you specially, we are doing one episode on. So as many of you may know, and some of you may be dreading, there is a World Cup that's going to be coming later. Not the bat, ball, and 22 players variety. Actually, 22 players
Yeah,
variety
just
is true.
20,
Actually,
And ball also.
and bat ball. No bat. No
There's
bat.
no bat.
There is no bat.
Unless Gareth Batty is playing.
Or unless there are employers, it
Zep
belongs to the
batter.
employers in Qatar for their workers.
Oh,
But
wow.
anyway,
Wow.
so
Wrong football club. Club football.
not worth laughing at, but yes. So we are talking about the Qatar World Cup, which is the FIFA 2022 World Cup that's going to be happening in Qatar later this year. It is the first World Cup that's going to be held in Asia, and it's
In Asia.
South Korea,
Japan?
and-
no, sorry, in West Asia. My bad.
There is West
In
Asia.
West Asia. In West Asia, in the Gulf, so to speak.
Okay.
But so and obviously the biggest problem so far always for having a World Cup in the Gulf was that the World Cup was held in summers, and summers in Gulf is where one goes to die.
Doha Garam.
Doha garam hai.
I can testify having stayed in the Gulf for 15
Yes.
years. Once they actually even, this was long before there were heat waves around the world and, global warming was, whatever. They once actually stopped, they deferred school by a week after summer vacations because it was too hot
Heat
to step
wave.
outside.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
and just to give you context, the reason we call Chuck because he's Caucasian and he stepped out one day when he was a child. That is why you're tanned.
Like that.
So,
You're Caucasian. The story is that you're Caucasian,
Okay.
and you were a white blonde kid who stepped out in the Bahrain sun one day
So one of
and
you
and
sounding
Chuck
like
happened
and became
because-
Mallu.
And became Mallu. Okay, okay, never mind.
one of you sounding like a cocky Asian.
Anyway, so yes, so while there are a lot of problematic issues with how the World Cup, so of course, just to give you a very brief idea about how the World Cup came to be, the World Cup rights were awarded way back in, I think, sometime in the early part of the 2010s or the last decade. I'm not completely sure. As we said, like there's a little bit of misinformation and lack of information as well. But either way, the point was those rights were awarded during the reign of Sepp Blatter,
Yeah.
the infamous former FIFA chairman who is now disgraced and kicked out in some way. But while he's gone, his deeds live on in the form of the FIFA World Cup. Now, the main thing
You
was
mean the rights were given to
Yeah,
Qatar
the-
on a blatter?
on a pretty much.
Just glad I got there before Tony did.
So anyway, so the point is that there are a lot of bid rigging allegations that were floating around at the time.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I didn't expect when that guy was opening the envelope. Qatar?
Qatar.
Really? I mean, have they mixed it up with the people who qualified? Like, oh, that was.
I mean, I
surprising.
would have expected them to, when the country actually went there and asked them for giving them the rights, they said, no, please wait, aap Qatar mein. But anyway, so that was, but anyway, so what happened is they
Basically corruption.
got basically a
Lots of
lot of corruption. They got the rights.
Yeah.
And initially, in fact, there was a lot of question about, well, you got the rights, but how the hell are they going to play this game? Which is 50 degrees in the summer and doing that. So first things first, they moved it from the 50 degrees, this thing, to the winter. So this is the first ever winter World Cup.
When
Wow.
is it scheduled?
It's scheduled in November, December.
Oh yeah, it's already the end of 2022.
Exactly, yes. So it's going to be happening later this year. So that's the first very point is that about how like there is innovation in terms of the fact that this is the first ever Winter World Cup. Not that it's going to be much cold. It's going to be cold and you're going to see snowy pitches or anything. But what you're going to see is just normal, regular people playing in the winter.
Yeah.
But what that going to do is all the leagues are going to take a pause for the World Cup. So
Wow.
we are going to have like a mid-season break
Yeah.
where all the leagues around the entire Europe. So this is caused a huge disruption.
Yeah.
The one is they wanted to like not disrupt. They wanted to not disrupt like any of the holidays. They wanted to wind it up before Christmas. So it's a
Wow.
shortened World Cup that's going to happen
Wow.
really, really fast in a very small period of time.
Wow, this is IPL level of arm
Yeah.
twisting.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So like they have, yeah. I mean, Qatar is effectively in some ways the BCCI of the footballing world. But yeah,
So
so
wait, by the way, this is also sponsored by Byju's or something.
yeah, it is.
We've got
Yeah, so what they did was like, so now they're going to have it in the winter in that particular period of time.
By the way, Gulf winters can actually be very, very cold. It's not just going from 50 to
That-
30. There are only 2 hailstorms that I have been lucky to be a part of. One was on top of a trek somewhere near Pune, and the other was actually in Bahrain.
Oh,
It
wow.
rained.
Yeah. It rains. So,
Hail.
So it actually gets very, very cold in winters.
Like
so as in,
Big hail.
yeah, not big, but enough to cause destruction to a few cars. So it's not that huge. But basically, the point being, winters actually get pretty cold. We actually get sweaters and all that out during winter. It
Hey,
didn't
nice.
snow in Bahrain, and since Bahrain is right next to Qatar, it's quite close actually. In
And-
fact,
but how about like during, like, isn't it like classical desert weather usually says it's hot during the day and cold at nights?
So they might be playing at night.
Fair point. Yeah, actually, the nights were okay, but
Uh-huh.
during winters it gets really cold throughout
All
the day.
right,
Yeah.
okay. But here again, the weather that's expected during this particular time is supposed to be hotter than what normal. Because normally, like football players aren't used to playing at anything above 30 degrees
Yeah.
Celsius. And also humidity is a factor which they are not.
Damn it! For once, Indians would have had a chance.
Yeah, pretty
But,
much.
is this the reason why? Is there now like a mid? There is a mid like half break, right?
Yeah,
Like
mid-season
quarter-
break.
No, I meant like during the game, like at 20 minutes or so. There's
Yeah,
like a
so there's going to
refreshing
be.
break.
So what
If the
happens?
temperature in
Yeah,
the pitch is
if the
higher.
temperature of the pitch goes above a certain level, they're
Oh.
going to have a small break
Drinks
where people
break.
can have a drinks break and they can pause over there.
Wow,
Which
pitch fever.
yeah, which is also something actually they did when during COVID, when the season was postponed and the season actually completed. It played over the summer, so May,
okay.
June, July they were actually playing. And at that time, because it was so hot in the UK as well,
Yeah.
they used to have like breaks in the middle where they would like pause for
Yeah.
drinks and all that
I
stuff.
think it was there for the Euros also.
For the Euros as well, because again that was also delayed a little bit.
Yeah.
So I mean those are some of those things that are happening. But let's look at what this. I mean, I've still not talked about what the episode is supposed to be about,
That's
which
quite
is I think we're almost at a break. I'll give topic name and then take break or something. But anyway,
Because
so,
the fever here, the
Yeah,
pitch
the temperature has
Yeah.
gone up.
so along with all these novelties that are going to be happening for this World Cup, there are a whole bunch of technological innovations also that are going to come in. Some of them pretty mind blowing and also a testament of how much money actually Qatar has. But so yeah, let's explore some of those innovations on the other side of this break.
Welcome back after the 10-minute introduction to the episode. We are now getting into the topic at hand. But before you get into the topic, and I have a few more questions. How is this the smallest country to have hosted a World Cup?
That's an interesting question. I wouldn't know. I mean, I think it's a toss-up. I don't know how big South Korea is versus Qatar.
I think it's pretty big, and South Korea also shared it with Japan. If I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
they shared it
So
with
it's-
Japan.
yeah.
So yeah, might be the smallest country, but also South Africa hosted it entirely by
South
itself.
Africa was pretty huge. South Africa and Qatar is actually not that.
My geography skills are coming to play over here.
Vatican City hosted it, no? Wait, that was the
Well.
Ashes. Okay, sorry, Catholic
Oh,
joke.
wow. Okay. Technological innovations. Srikeit.
Yeah.
How many stadiums, by the way? Teams.
So, there are about-
there are more teams this time also. If I remember.
No, there's 32 teams.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, they've increased the size a little bit, I guess. I haven't read up that part, but yeah.
But then
they,
how was it shorter? Oh, just like multiple matches.
they have
during the
like,
day.
yeah, they've crunched it together. They've sped up the scheduling in some way. Parallel matches are going to be happening a lot more, and they've kind of scrunched the entire tournament
I've always
schedule a little
thought
bit.
that efficient way to get more football, just an innovation for this format that has refused to change for so many centuries, while cricket is taking so many leaps and strides, is why just restrict it to 2 teams? They should actually have 4 goals and like the 4 teams go at it.
This is
Wow.
like your Maharashtra election cartoon.
Maharashtra election cartoon. Wow, what a of cultist of cult references that is. But
Yeah, no. So aside from absolutely transforming the game of football, there are some innovations. So first we'll address all the innovations that actually deal with the football itself. So
the football, the physical.
the football, the ball. But
ball.
before we get there, about how the sport is going to be viewed like across the world. This is the first World Cup that's going to be broadcast in 4K ultra high definition as well as VR. So there is going to be a lot of like
VR or VAR?
that also, which is also an interesting point. But so in the UK, it will be available on BBC, and BBC has that virtual reality feed via the BBC Sport VR app.
Okay.
So there's going to be like.
But what does it mean? Like you feel like you're sitting there.
Yeah, so there is no real. I tried to look for references. There are no real. I guess it will be pitch side.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a VR camera
Sure.
that's pitch side, which allows you to look at either side of the goal and see what's
so it's
going on
basically
over there.
a 360 video.
A
right?
360 video. I guess it'll not even be a full 360. I guess it might be more of a 180, depending on the size of the pitch.
Fair
or
enough.
something.
It's one step above.
Yeah. So there is definitely that, and in UHD and all of that stuff. In fact, there is, so for example, a lot of the footage, because of the high res of the footage, AI via IBM Watson has been used to process requests for footage, and there has been more dedicated content for social media than ever before. So specific footage requests. So if you're in like using the iPlayer where you can actually say, I want to watch this part, I want to watch that section, you are able to watch that because you can actually request for specific.
Interesting. And I'm guessing
content
if not for this World Cup, this is technology that I've heard is already like people are working on, which is you can watch a game from a particular player's point of view or only focus on one particular,
Yes.
like change angles up and all that.
And that's where actually we can kind of move to. So I think there are disparate points of technology that are actually already in play here.
Yeah.
I think connecting them up to kind of bring them all together. So
But you said you can request specific footage.
Yes.
Are there NFTs also?
that's probably going to be in the works soon. So depending on the first flashpoint of the World Cup, I think that will definitely be converted. This is the first World Cup that's going to be happening.
First major sporting event, actually. Global sporting event. Anyway.
Exactly. So in this new age, so there's going to be a lot of that coming up. So that's definitely there. But what is the most? So as far as the game itself is concerned, the most interesting piece of technology that's going to be used, and the most revolutionary piece of technology that's going to be used is VAR, but VAR like never before. So VAR is video assistant referee, which is what has been introduced for the past 2 or 3 seasons in European football per se. But VAR technique has so far been like what the third umpire is, right? Third umpire prior to the introduction of like DRS. Right. So the third umpire where there was, you'd see that, and with DR, it's using
you can't overturn the decision.
some kind of tools which are there like DRS, you can draw lines on the pitch and figure out how offside works. So for example, and offside as such is a very contentious decision compared to the decisions in cricket or in tennis, right? Because while Hawkeye can decide a lot of stuff, and there is very little margin for error when it comes to deciding an LBW with the DRS system, right? Like there's not much controversy that gets created there. Not much. Not much is the operative term. Versus in football, because again, the mechanics of offside, there are multiple variables there. So you need to calculate the exact line where the attacker has been, where the ball has left contact from the passer's boot.
Oof.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all millimeters on that side. Plus, if there is
not just also like part of hand or like nose or something.
No, so it should be a part of the body from which the person can score. So it can't be a hand, but if it is a knee or a shoulder, so what part of the shoulder to the arm is also one aspect that comes into play. So
what about the defender? What about if his hand is behind?
So that's, again, I'm not a deep expert in VR. There are actually rules where they've like codified and put all of these things down. And this actually has caused a lot of controversy and also, more importantly, time. So football is not like, unlike cricket, which has natural pauses in it. Football is a non-stop game. Right?
Supposed to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does, the clock at least never stops.
Yeah.
So, there's stoppage time added, but it's a constant non-stop game. Here is where now, because of VAR and because of these controversial decisions where now referees are being more cautious about whether they're getting it right or not, some VAR breaks have been as long as like 2 to 3 minutes. right? And 2 to 3 minutes, like the players are all just standing around, even the viewers are all just standing around and waiting, and it's also caused a lot of angst and it kills the tempo of the game, and all of that stuff has been said. So this particular World Cup is going to be the first one with semi-automated offside technology. Now,
Whoa.
this, in fact, in some ways, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first, I'd say, first major mainstream primary use of AI in a sport. So it's the primary technology that's used. It's not a backup. It's not something that's just for viewers.
Okay.
So how this is going to work is this way. So first is that there is so it's called the semi-automated offside technology. All right. So there's
It sounds like one Whirlpool washing machine.
yeah, it's like kar deta hai, but you have to transfer to the other tub for spin. But yeah, so the semi-automated offside technology works this way. So first is obviously what VAR also uses is these multiple cameras. So there are 12 tracking cameras around the stadium, right? And what is the unique part is, for the first time ever, there is going to be a tracking device inside the match ball. So for the first time, there's going to be
Ooh.
technology inside the ball.
We had it in our 2,000 rupee notes.
Yeah. Yo. Quickly moving on. So what this does is actually, it's got this one tracker that actually broadcasts at 500 hertz per second.
Okay.
All right. And this particular ball, so the ball also, it helps with the other technology which is also used, which is called goal line technology.
Right.
So famously in the World Cup in 2010, Frank Lampard had scored for England, had shot a ball for England, it hit the crossbar and it actually crossed the line.
Yeah.
But there was no goal line tracking at that time. So it was actually a goal for England against Germany, which is still a sore point for English fans. But it was never counted, and that's actually one of the classical.
Otherwise, they would have won the World Cup.
Oh, for sure, yeah. But anyway, so that's still used as one of the classical mistakes that goal line technology actually solves. Goal line technology, just to take a quick aside, is one of the less controversial parts. It's actually pretty non-controversial. It's Hawkeye, effectively, which, because of using the sensor in the ball, or otherwise this Hawkeye technology, the rule is that the whole of the ball must cross the line. So even if there is some part of the ball that's on the line, it's still not a goal.
Yeah.
So
but it can also be in the air, right? It doesn't.
it can be in the air. It can be in it. It doesn't need to touch the line.
Really?
It needs to cross the plane of the line.
Oh.
So the plane of the line. So if the whole of the ball crosses the plane of the line, it's a goal. But if it does not, if any part of it, and that actually some say is the difference between Liverpool and Manchester City. When Liverpool played Manchester City, the ball didn't go in for 3 centimeters or 4 centimeters, which was actually the majority of the ball was across the line, but some part was still behind the line. And that actually prevented Liverpool from winning against Manchester City, who won by 1 point eventually.
Oh.
So goal line tracking has made a difference. It's still definitely not a goal. We could see it. There was some part behind the line. So that has been one of the technologies. Now, with the tracker in the ball, it's even more accurate. You don't even need the Hawkeye actually, because the ball itself has the tracker that says whether it's crossing the line or not.
The technology was in the goalpost.
No, it's a Hawkeye. So there's the cameras.
Okay.
The cameras were tracking it on the plane and figuring it out. Because again, the thing is with offside, the plane can be any place, right? Wherever the attackers are.
Correct.
Here you know where the goal lines are. You can position the cameras right there, and then you can accordingly see whether it's crossing the line or not. Yeah, so that's one is the goal line technology. But coming back to here, so first is that there is going to be the tracker inside the ball at 500 hertz. And there are going to be, so the jerseys and on the players using so this is where it's confusing. They have not really clarified it very clearly. I don't think it's going to be trackers on the jerseys of the players. But what the cameras have been instructed is every player is mapped using 29 individual points from their head to their toe, right?
Ooh.
29 points on every player have been mapped who are going to be on the pitch, and all the substitutes also, their size, shape, everything has been mapped fully.
Yeah.
And so when they are on the pitch, there is going to be a separate, like you can visualize them in 3D effectively, because they're all mapped and they're all going to be moving like that. So using that coupled with the ball, what here is going to happen is now when there is a VAR decision that's called, there is going to be, AI is going to create a 3D image of the entire thing. It's going to take going to be versus from, so earlier while it took about an average of 70 seconds, the current system will take 15 to 25 seconds, including, and that's why it's semi-automated. They'll probably, the tech will actually give the feed in about 10 odd seconds or so. Here is where
the time is for the referee to run up to.
No, so here is where what's going to happen is there's going to be a VAR room. they are not going to be shown the actual footage.
Oh.
The computer will create the 3D footage and show that to the referees in the VAR booth,
Okay.
who are going to see if there's any other extenuating circumstances. So when it comes to offside, sometimes there is a impeding player in front of the goalkeeper who has moved and who is therefore active or something like that, which would be outside the scope of what the technology can do.
Wow.
So they will evaluate those things and the feed and just make sure that the computer has made the right decision and then communicate that. So actually, it's the computer making the decision for the offside in the majority of the decisions.
Nice.
So
Wow.
it's AI led entirely. So this is the first time in a major tournament that's going to be AI led as such.
Crazy. So if just a hypothetical situation, if this happens to the Argentinian captain, then unlike the book, this will be a Leo, which is going to be a Leo leading to a piece of VAR rather than War and Peace.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
That's a-
God.
There's a long
Yeah,
dribble
yeah.
to get to that
Yeah,
goal.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
a tall story. Tall.
Yeah. It was messy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Let's go.
anyway. So,
But so basically, this is the first time ever is going to be tried.
yeah, this is the first time it's ever going to be tried. So, this
there will be
particular
a lot of controversy.
So
for
it's
sure.
potentially a lot of controversy. But what also they're going to do is, so what happened with VAR also, one of the big problems is that the cameras that are there, and this is a classical problem with VAR. So for example, if you're showing something from a dead on, like a parallel angle, you're able to see exactly if it's there or not. The cameras are not all there. Not all angles can be covered by a camera in the stadium. So when they actually do show the angles in VAR classically on the television screen for the viewers to see, they are probably seeing it at an angle. And when you see things at an angle, they appear a little distorted. So someone who might be offside may appear not offside, or someone who's not may appear offside. And the lines that are drawn are parallel, right? So because of which you feel like they have drawn the lines weirdly. And so this created a lot of controversy among fans, thinking that the lines
Because
are not
they are
drawn
looking
properly.
at-
They are looking at a tilted angle.
Oh.
So now what's going to happen is the 3D generated feed is actually going to be shown to the user. So you can actually see it like they're going to show 3D generated. So it's 3D generated, so you can show from the most accurate angle. And it's also going to show a whole plane there. So you can literally see if a knee has crossed the plane by a couple of millimeters, it still can show that and very clearly identify and show that in the TV screens for the viewers to see.
Wow. So this technology is unparalleled.
Oh.
Pretty much.
Dude, this is just like one step away now from a remote World Cup happening. Like if fans are going to see 3D renditions, like it's very now easy to now imagine that like all 22 players will be in their homes, hook up to whatever
Yeah, pretty much.
Meta makes next.
No, I mean,
and just like, and their avatars will interact.
so a couple of things can be done. So one thing is you can almost imagine for not this World Cup, but the next World Cup, by which time a metaverse version is possible, where actually those 3D renditions can be rendered onto the metaverse, and you can actually go and stand. You can actually have a metaverse screening of the match where you're actually going and you're watching the 3D renditions, which are real time.
Wow.
Because they are tracked real time from the players and transmitted there.
But
So you
let's
could
talk
actually-
about happier things.
Yes, but so that is the football as well. The actual football is going to have these tech innovations primarily. Now let's talk about, and this is just scratching the surface of the innovations honestly they have. First is, now let's talk about the stadiums. So yes, there with the stadiums, so like I said, there are 8 stadiums, the most famous of which is being the 80,000 seater Lusail Stadium. And so the Lusail Stadium is like, it's basically like, it's all Qatar historical architecture coming into play and all that stuff, and they're putting all of that stuff together. The important part is there's a lot of sustainability that's going into this particular World Cup. So at the end of this World Cup, there's going to be like the Lusail Stadium specifically is going to be transformed into a community space, and the stadium as such is going to remain with the retractable roof and all that stuff. So all the stadiums are going to have retractable roofs, which are going to close open based on the weather. And they're all going to have so this community center is going to have the original roof of the stadium. And also what's going to happen is all the 80,000 seats are going to be removed and sent over to the different FIFA countries as memorabilia or something like that. So there's going to be all of that. But the most interesting of the stadiums is actually the smallest one, which is the stadium is called Stadium 974. Now,
Okay.
can you guess why it's called Stadium
It's the
974?
974th stadium to ever be used in a
No.
FIFA World Cup game.
Tony?
I
So
don't
there's two reasons for why it's called Stadium 974. The main reason it's called 974 is because it's Qatar's dialing code is 974 plus
Oh.
974.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also this,
Oh yeah, Bahrain is 973. Hmm.
yeah, it's the international dialing code, and this entire stadium was constructed using shipping containers. So it's only constructed because it's as a tribute to Qatar's shipping and maritime history. It's constructed using shipping containers, and that's the exact number of shipping containers used in the construction.
Oh wow.
Oh,
974.
nice.
Yeah, it's
Very
also super
nice.
hipster.
Super.
Isn't shipping containers the hipster thing? Like staying in shipping
Yeah,
containers
maybe.
and all
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah.
So this innovative 40,000 seat venue has a remarkable design and is a
And wait, 40,000 is the smallest stadium.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And this stadium is also going to be the first fully demountable tournament venue, meaning this stadium will cease to exist after the World Cup.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
They're literally going to
Pack up
pull.
and
Yeah, it's a
pack
shipping
it.
container. So they're going to use what they're going to do with that thing is that they're going to unpack that entire thing and create. Following the tournament's conclusion, the stadium will make way for a waterfront development.
Oh, I thought
Wow.
IKEA or something.
So it's not a main stadium, so it's only going to host matches till the round of 16. And beyond that, it's all going to be in Lusail Stadium and all that stuff. But this stadium is going to be that shipping container stadium with all those interesting things. So
But
it's
it's all in Doha, or like there are.
So yeah, this is the outskirts of Doha. This is the only stadium now, and moving to the more interesting part of it. This is the only stadium that does not have any climate control because it is next to the coast and it won't need it, apparently, according to them. So that the weather is controllable in some ways over there. All right. Now let's come to the cooling technology of this World Cup, which is called the Advanced Stadium Cooling Tech. Now, obviously, it's hot in Qatar, but
You don't say.
yeah. So what they are going to be doing here is, and this is where the real money comes into play, is that they have these energy efficient like cooling systems. Basically, it's not something that's very unfamiliar. If you remember these at airports, you must have seen these large holes, the large plastic holes which look like nozzles and they're like
yeah.
rotatable. That's basically it. So those, but they are much more energy efficient. They have a separate, there is a cooling system that is energy efficient. That has actually there's an energy center near the stadium where chilled water is brought in a pipeline to the venue. Once it arrives, cold air is pushed onto the field of play and the spectator seating areas. Right. And in this cooling tech, it's going to be like, and the reason why Stadium 974 is location next to the coast does not need cooling. It's naturally ventilated. But this particular cooling technology is, it'll maintain, and so the temperature that it can maintain, and they actually tried this out in the Emir Cup. And during the Emir Cup was played in the summer so that they could test it in like harsh conditions. So during the match day at the Emir Cup, they were actually able to reduce the temperature on the field of play to 20 degrees.
Wow.
And
Is this like closed roof or open roof?
Open roof at 23 degrees and 23 degrees in the spectator areas.
Wow.
So using just the cooling vents. And so yeah, apparently it's like, and the thing is, it's also heavily energy efficient. It takes only about 40% of the energy of normal cooling methods and all that stuff. So it's some revolutionary cooling technology.
Literally revolutionary.
Yeah, very much so. So there's also something really cool that they did, and here is where
this also was something cool that they did.
Yes.
I mean, cool. Yes. Sorry.
Excellent. Yes. So they have a particular thing called the e-palm, right? An e-palm is basically, imagine a palm tree, right? But a palm tree, that is the fronds of the palm tree that face the sky, are actually solar panels.
Ah.
So these are all mobile. So they've placed this all across the city. They are mobile Wi-Fi plus phone charging spots that also give people shade. So you can literally sit
Give
under.
people shade as in
Yeah, throw
what
shade.
are you wearing?
They're like that's what you're going with. But yeah, so you can literally sit under these artificial solar panel palm trees where you can plug your phones in, and the solar panels actually are generating electricity, and gives you. They're also Wi-Fi hotspots.
Yeah.
So it's called the e-palm shading wind turbine. Wind turbine that generates electricity through solar panels and bifacial photovoltaic panels. So you can sit under the shade and charge your phone. The e-palm is also a Wi-Fi hotspot. EPAM also incorporates advertising, mist cooling, surveillance cameras. Obviously.
Advertising wise, that's a feature.
Yeah. Lighting and speakers. I mean, if they're selling it to
Like-
sponsors and all.
Like all good trees.
Yeah, like all good trees.
Can you put a poster on it? Cool.
Imagine
Got it
it's not
covered.
just regular poster advertising. There's lighting and speakers
Yeah.
also. So you're like you're
shade.
sitting under that and you're getting thanda, cool, Navratna Tel. So yeah, so that's there. Also, what is another aspect of so there is that the design of the World Cups also the stadiums also is like there's the building envelope design, and to be very honest I didn't delve deeper into it, but the only thing that they said was the design of the stadiums is such that they will allow for them to be much more 40% less more energy efficient than regular stadiums in terms of circulating the cold air, retaining it, as well as like maintaining the temperature and all that stuff in the air. These things, and they are also all of them are retractable, so you can actually close the roofs and all that stuff if need be.
Really pushing the envelope.
Yeah, exactly. So thermal efficient buildings. And finally, and then there's an entire section which I got, which was I did not expect this of the World Cup. I just expected a lot of like BDE kind of technology that would be put over there. But big dick energy, big dick energy for tech out there.
Yeah.
But actually, there is a lot of inclusivity-led tech that is going to be there at this World Cup. Inclusivity meaning something that's like built for like accessibility in better ways. So the first thing is that this is apparently going to be the most accessible World Cup in tournament history, where even like people with severe disabilities will be able to enjoy this World Cup. So the first thing is that the Qatar World Cup website is fully accessible by every platform of access. It's fully like usable and designed for every accessibility based platform. So it's Braille compatible. It's compatible for people with like visual problems and all that stuff.
I mean, this is not a big deal, but okay.
Huh?
I mean, that's like
that's stable. I'm getting started yet. But they have like supports the use of magnifiers, screen readers, high contrast color image description. So all of that stuff is there. Now, here is where the interesting one is there. They have developed a new, so there was a almost like a Kickstarter of sorts for what kind of accessibility technology can be developed. And there was a technology called the Bonocle, which was developed, which is basically
which helps you see YouTube better.
Oh my God, well done.
Oh, wow. Is the first ever Braille entertainment platform with assistive technology, so which will help those with visual impairments gain access to digital content after converting it to Braille. So in fact, this is going to actually convert, like, say, I'm assuming something like a Cricinfo feed, real time into Braille, and that's going to be something that's going to be constantly rolling onto fingers, so they can get like real time understanding of what's going to happen. So that's what the Bonocle is going to be doing. There is also another one, which is there is also another technology that got developed called Felix Palm. Felix Palm is a tactile palm communicator that uses electrical impulses to transmit Braille-like messages to the visually impaired without restricting their hearing or physical movement. Currently, a range of wearable technology is designed and developed that will connect to smartphones, VR headsets, and other hardware. So this is also another piece of technology that's there. This is something I found really interesting. So apparently, they are also developing what are called sensory viewing rooms that are being built into stadiums to provide safe and calm places to young people with autism or sensory processing issues. So these young people will be able to retreat to the sensory room during a match that has been specially designed to engage their senses with interactive projections, controlled lighting, beanbags, and toys. They will be provided tools like weighted lap pads, noise-cancelling headphones, fidget tools, visual cue cards to help them remain focused and calmed in a supervised environment. There is also a row of dedicated seats available to these young people to enjoy the matches. So you actually have like because again, football matches can be very, very high sensory, very, very, I mean, there's very little control you can have over there. So there's actually a room for like people who have autism to retreat to in case things get overwhelming. And
wow,
also
so many good things they're doing. It's almost like they were covering up for
anyway. And so what is also happening is they're also developing some kind of wearable tech for the larger audiences. So they actually have like low power sensors, low power fabric sensors that they are actually putting onto, which are connected via Bluetooth and also a base station which can allow for real-time vital signs monitoring, which is specifically for athletes, elderly, and the frail during the World Cup. So you can actually have like all of these sensors that are put into your this thing.
So I've seen one. I'm sure you might have seen this campaign as well. It was run by some sports channel in Australia, and it was based on Aussie rules football at the
Aussie
time.
rules football.
So what they'd done was this is by I think Fox Sports or whatever the equivalent in Australia is. So they developed this sensor for fans to attach to their jersey. And it would be Bluetooth connected to the phone. The phone would be live synced to game data. So essentially what that meant was, suppose the captain or whoever the player was attacked or whatever, that data would get immediately transferred. So you would feel it in the chest. So basically haptic feedback. So it was all about like this channel brings you closer to the game now, literally.
You can feel all the hits directly and like they'll give you actually a jolt. But anyway, so there's also another one. So there's also now, which is also interesting. I think this is technology that's being rolled out slowly across different areas. But there's an app that's going to be launched called NavBuddy Qatar, which is basically will make it easier to navigate indoor spaces. So it's not just GPS led, but indoor spaces where you can, and also gives
nice.
and also allows for crowd. It understands where the crowds are at, so it allows you to avoid crowded areas in stadiums, malls, hospitals, entertainment venues in real time. So you can get to your stadium seats like really quickly, and you can also get like where the restaurants are empty and all that stuff. This is paired with what is also like connected sensors that are placed around Doha. So those like literally like there are physical sensors that are placed at various places which will monitor.
This is SC and SORs, right? Not CE.
That also
that is swearable tech.
Yeah,
so
wow.
swearable tech. So so these sensors are going to be helping people like navigate and plan their routes and all that stuff. They have basically the PVR system of food delivery to your seats.
PVR system of food delivery. TM.
So I mean, it's quite normal for theaters and movie theaters, but now you're going to be able to like order food. There's an app that's there, and you can actually order your food to your seats and stuff. So
is like alcohol allowed?
So in specific zones, so what they've done is they've created like these tournament zones, and in those zones, alcohol will be served. And also in those, and so and also another big concern for the World Cup was LGBTQ people who are like there, and like if say people will be prosecuted for that. But apparently Qatar has said that inside tournament zones, they will not be prosecuting people
but the
for
moment
anything.
You step out,
That's it. Then the death penalty. So it's like have fun in here. Outside is.
So when you say tournament zone, is it like an SCZ or something, or is it
no, pretty much. I think in some ways what they have done is they must have created like a
little island.
I mean, or not even an island, but they must have said that these are the acceptable zones where like the
one of the insider stages.
And you also like create what are those malls that are there part of the entire area, and what are the driving routes and all that stuff. What I'm believing will happen over here is like they'll basically tell the religious police, "Abhi 15 din ke liye chhod de," and uske baad maje.
I mean they can't afford any negative.
So there's going to be alcohol.
Qatar is a kingdom. Is it?
Qatar
Sultanate,
is,
no?
Kingdom
Sultanate
of Qatar. Sultanate
one of those.
Qatar,
It's not a thriving democracy.
Yes, I think far from that. Thriving is also So
interesting.
So these are some of those. I mean, there are actually quite a few more also which are there, which are like smaller and like based for specific audiences and stuff like that. But as such, it's clearly coming across that like so Qatar. I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, yes, the core idea of why the World Cup in Qatar was needed was there is a lot of football played in the Arab regions. One of the biggest stars in the world is from one of the Arab regions. He's from Egypt, right? So Mohamed Salah is from Egypt, and he grew up playing in these conditions, right? He grew up in these conditions and playing football over there. And there are a lot of kids who now play football in these conditions. So while there are a lot of issues with how the World Cup has been done, the fact that football can be played, like football can come to these people's backyard and be played in these conditions, and the Arab world is not excluded in any which way. Because again, if you come to think of it, yes, it's not ideal to play football in these conditions, but football is being played in these conditions. And at some point you have to say, okay, how do you acknowledge the
Hmm.
football being played in these conditions? There has to be
By-
some way of doing it.
Yeah.
So if you look at those arguments, it still makes sense that, yeah, I mean, at some point you will have to hold a World Cup over there. And these are probably the best conditions that they have created to kind of hold this World Cup in
Yeah.
some way or the
Yeah,
other.
fair enough. It reminds me of, once Facebook used to have, I don't know if they still do this, they used to have this thing called 2G Wednesdays. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
Just to
Yeah. So,
develop empathy for their-
exactly.
Oh,
To
wow.
develop empathy for how people in
Wow.
quote unquote poorer countries access their tools,
Facebook.
and not everybody has the speed that Silicon Valley does.
Yeah.
Some engineers would voluntarily switch to 2G speed Wi-Fi so that they would develop empathy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally get the point.
I think
and-
they should have a random rule where any Asian team is playing,
Yeah.
the temperature should, like if they're losing, the
Increase.
temperature should progressively increase.
Oh,
That's
So
all.
they should switch off the
Yeah.
air conditioning
switch off the
basically.
air con-
Okay, first half तूने मार लिया, अभी second half मेरा.
First
So
innings,
interest-
second innings type.
Yeah. So I
you score
assume-
14 goals.
So when you propose this topic, I assume that a lot of the innovations would be basically stress tests for one,
Heat.
football itself, and two, like other things like cooling and all
Yeah.
that, which will hopefully
Mhm.
be to football like say what World War II was to everything else, like
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of mainstreaming
Hopefully,
technologies and all
but
that.
again, I think the one way is, yes, while I think I really hope that because again, the point that they keep stressing with the cooling system is that about how energy efficient it
Hmm.
actually is. Because on the face of it, I guess from a PR point of view, it just seems like a massive undertaking
Yeah.
to cool a huge 80,000 seater stadium
Yeah.
to that. Like, I mean, imagine the amount of cooling that it
Yeah,
requires.
yeah.
So the point is, what they're trying to establish as a proof of concept is that it can be done at a
Bring on
reasonable.
climate change. See,
Yeah.
we've shown you how to cool the place down
So,
if you have money.
yeah, so I mean, they're trying to do that on that level. So, I mean, if they are able to do something like that, that is going to pretty much revolutionize in some ways, even say cricket in the subcontinent and
Yeah.
cricket in like the rest of Asia and the hotter parts in Africa as well.
Weren't the Winter Olympics hosted in Beijing or something? Like,
Yeah,
how
but
do
it is cold there.
Yeah, but not cold enough
No,
to host a
it's-
Winter Olympics.
It is.
Surely?
It is.
But
it
anyway,
is.
never mind.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Some
Is-
parts of it can get very cold. Yeah.
Qatar is playing the World Cup.
Qatar
yeah,
is.
yeah.
So as is norm, always
Yeah.
the
Host
host country gets like free pass.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Qatar is going to be playing. And
And Italy is not.
Italy, I think it's yes, I think Italy got knocked out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely a blank, but there's
They
yeah.
are the Euro champions something.
yes. So
Look at how
and-
out of
yeah,
touch I
they're
am.
all-
Egypt
always,
got knocked out. Egypt got knocked out as well.
Yeah.
So no Salah. Salah is not playing in the World Cup and got
So good for Liverpool. Like
in a
this-
way, yes, because he was knocked out
Well
by
rested.
Sadio Mane
Oh, okay.
in Senegal.
Nice.
So and Sadio Mane is now gone to Bayern Munich. So
Oh.
so their player is going to be playing in the World Cup. Salah is chilling. So, which is good for-
which is because everybody else will be sweating.
Yeah, and that's the other part. Like, I mean, honestly, if you're a major club football follower, while the World Cup is an interesting part where, like, for club football fans, right, World Cup is a time when everybody else wakes up to football and it's nice to
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
little
yeah.
company.
Yeah.
But you ultimately are hating the World Cup because it's like if your player gets, if your the
Yeah,
player
sure.
from your club
Yeah.
gets injured, then you're screwed because they got injured while playing there,
Yeah.
and they are also going to be exhausted. And this time it's going to be in the middle of the season. So
Yeah.
if say a player
Mm.
gets injured, earlier it used to be like if the player got injured, they still have the summer and the beginning part of the
Yeah,
season
yeah,
where
yeah.
they would recover. This is when if say a player gets injured during the World Cup, they're going to come in the second half of the season where it's like really important for them to be there.
Yeah.
And obviously the World Cup is where all the best players are playing. So it's probably going to be a pivotal player for your team.
Yeah.
So
Basically,
yeah, interesting.
So yeah, that's that.
So fun,
that on
good
the
episode. However, I'm surprised that you missed out on the biggest innovation that there is. So the Qatar World Cup is going to introduce a lot of cleaning technology. Has been shown by how they managed to sweep everything under the rug. But anyway, I think all your points have also been
excellent. Yes,
Yeah.
I think we have, as we say, reached the natural end of this
The
podcast.
the football itself is also actually very hard to disintegrate because it is made with a sep bladder inside.
Oh.
quickly bring it home.
Yes. So, in the absence of Naren, the next most sagacious person I'd say is, or older person is Chuck. So Chuck, do you want to sign us off?
Yeah, sure. Stay safe. Stay on site.
Stay on site.
Stay simplified.
See you guys. Bye.